Content warning. The content of this podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered medical or psychological advice. The views expressed are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any professional organizations. If you or someone you know is experiencing mental health issues or a crisis, please seek help from a qualified mental health professional or contact a crisis support service by dialing 988. Always consult with the licensed therapist or counselor for personalized support and guidance. Welcome to Queer in Here, Let's Talk Mental Health. And I'm Alicia Nolan. My pronouns are she, her, 2 times Amazon bestselling author and owner of Choose to Live. This podcast is dedicated to LGBTQ plus mental wellness. A diverse selection of mental health professionals and passionate storytellers will come together to create a safe and supportive space for listeners. Each episode features insightful conversations that explore the unique challenges faced by the LGBTQ plus community, weaving in personal narratives that resonate deeply with experiences of identity, acceptance, and resilience. Through expert advice and heartfelt storytelling, this podcast will not only provide valuable tools for coping and healing, but it will also foster a sense of belonging, reminding followers that they are not alone in their journeys. By amplifying voices from all corners of the community, this podcast intends to inspire hope, spark dialogue, and promote mental wellness for everyone. Today, I have with me Candace Combs. And just before we started this recording, I just want to mention that I just had a heavy heart for the past week, which we will talk about. I think it's so incredibly important to express that to the community as part of a marginalized community. So, Candace, will you please introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Candace Combs. I live in San Francisco with my wife, my 13-year-old kid, my 3-year-old dog, and a cat named Jack, who's a polydactyl cat. He also has an Instagram account along with my dog.
Yes.
I've owned a spa in San Francisco for over 20 years. San Francisco has been good to me, pretty good to me. I also run a Sober Reset Instagram account. So I guess I'm a sober influencer. I do a 5-week sobriety. I call it a sobriety reset. And I'm a TMJ specialist at my spa. So we do deep tissue sports massage, facials, waxing, all that good stuff. But also I do TMJ work. And that sort of goes hand in hand with mental health. It all really came out of COVID. I had always done TMJ in my career, but after COVID, it became this chronic thing for people. So that's all I do. That's all the clients I take are TMJ clients.
As you were saying that, I was like, oh, people with anxiety and stuff. Yes. TMJ is directly related to all of that. So what got you into what you're doing now?
Good question. I was actually an engineer in the 90s, software engineer. I started off testing software, then I had pretty much done everything. I was in the .com boom because I was living in San Francisco, moved to Seattle, worked at Microsoft for a little while, then came back to San Francisco because she's my home. I love her. I'm from New Orleans originally, and I do love my home. But, queer person living in the deep South, not the greatest. So I'd rather be out here on the West Coast, which really is the best coast. It's really like we live good lives out here, especially as gay people, really, because we're allowed to be who we are, After riding out the tech industry, my ex was a rolfer. And when I moved to San Francisco in 91, I was supposed to go to massage school. And I just ended up, I have this 2 parts of me. One that loves technology. And the other that loves body work, right? And they really do kind of go oddly hand in hand because if something is out on my computer, I can fix it. If something's out on your body, I can hopefully fix you.
Okay. So, I can see that.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, but I tell my clients this all the time. I can fix your computer and plus I can fix your jaw. So there we go. But so I wrote out the .com and then I just got tired of it because I was doing a lot of yoga. I was doing a lot of meditation, a lot of acupuncture. I was having some gut issues. So I was going into like the holistic world, right? And I had TMJ. So at 28 years old, I had a horrible, horrible case of TMJ. And I realized, oh, it's because I just sit in front of computers and I'm just in my head all day. I'm not in my body at all. My ex started working on my jaw, which then led me to, oh, okay, I want to go to massage school. I want to study structural body work. It was a different, it was much different back then, the structural body work path. You sort of forged your own and you worked, I worked, my ex was one of my mentors, but I had many mentors along the way. And yeah, and I ended up opening a spa out of the high tech industry because I didn't want to sit in front of computers all day. Opened a spa in San Francisco, and that's been going on for, over 20 years. We actually made 20 while we were closed uh, during COVID. So
Okay.
in 2020, we made 20 years. I've done a lot in San Francisco. I've changed massage legislation, and that, there's a lot to do with the queer community also. Massage was really looked at as sex work,
Mm.
which we all know, not true at all. So it took me almost 10 years to get, not quite 10 years, I guess, 7 or 8 years, to get the city to change the category of massage from massage parlors, which was associated with sex and human trafficking, to health and wellness. So I've been in this health and wellness space for a long time. Yeah. And so that's kind of my journey.
And can you explain just what TMJ is for people who don't know?
Yeah, it's the temporal mandibular joint right here for anyone
In the jaw?
in the jaw, right up there. And it's people who clench and grind. A lot of people who are hyper mobile, like lock their knees, throw their pelvis out, they end up their scalenes, their neck is really tight. They wear their shoulders as earrings, and all of a sudden their jaw is that last place, and it's the part that just those back teeth they just chomp down on. And then at night they're just grinding, right? Because you're stressed. I mean, we live in a stressed out world. I had always done it in my practice, but like I said, after 2020, it got crazy because people, they went home from work. Numerous things happened. One is they had an ergonomic setup at work. They didn't have that at home. So that's one thing. The second thing is they realized they didn't like their spouse or their partner. So that was stressful.
That's
And then,
fair.
and then they didn't like their job. And then in some cases, they were like, I don't like any of it. The only thing I like it is my dog and my cat. So it became like everyone was calling me. Like I'm
Yeah.
doing is clenching and grinding all night. So that's why, I created this entire practice, and I'm able to send my clients on to my other employees who do regular body work on them. I always tell people, here's PT and we're right below it.
Yeah.
We're that body work place that can really help you really while you're in PT.
Yeah, there's going to be people who are listening to this and be like, "Oh my gosh, that's what
Yeah.
happens to me." And now they're going to know. I feel like there's probably tons of people out there that are like, "Man, I clench my jaws," and they don't really connect the dots there, maybe because they just haven't heard of it before. So I hope that you've kind of raised that awareness to people to
Yeah.
hopefully if you're having that and you're stressed out and all of those things, and because it can lead to headaches and stuff as well, correct? Yeah.
That
So,
Yeah, and I put on gloves. I do intraoral work. I go
mhm,
inside your mouth. I release your whole body. I release the back of your body, release the front of the body, your
yeah,
neck, and then I go inside of your mouth. And yes, it can lead to migraines, to headaches. Yeah, it can be really painful. One of the reasons at 28 years old, when I had it, I was getting migraines constantly because of it. And that's when I started to get my jaw release. And then I realized, God, okay, wait, kind of like the computer, if your whole body's out of alignment,
yes,
that jaw's that ending place, right? It's like, shit, everything's out of alignment. So
yes,
now I need to release this and then start to put everything back into alignment and get back in your body. That's our
yeah,
issue, right? I mean, we live in a stressed out world. I mean, we live in a world, especially the Bay Area. I do love where I live, but we go 1,000 miles an hour here. And I'm in the tech center. I mean, my spa is right down the street from OpenAI, which does ChatGPT. These guys are stressed. So I see it every day, right? And, we're money obsessed. So we're a capitalist society, which, Tuesday sort of proved that. We put that ahead of everything, right? We put, well, wait, my bank account, what about this? What about that? And we stop thinking about ourselves, our body, the people around us, our community. And that's what In Symmetry is, what my spa is there for. That's the work that I do. Because not only do I own a spa in San Francisco in an amazing neighborhood in the Mission, it's called the Mission Creek area of the Mission, but also I'm the president of the Business Association. So,
Nice.
again, San Francisco allows queer people, someone who looks like me, presents masculine of center, to really rise up, and really have positions of authority. I mean, I've changed legislation in the city of San Francisco. By the way, one of the hardest cities to change anything. And
Yeah.
I don't have millions of dollars. I
Yeah.
did that purely with my voice.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Their voices should be heard. They need to be heard. And I'm sure, I mean, I don't know if you had an uptick in clients
Yes.
this past week already. Yeah. I can't imagine. You live in what is kind of deemed to be as one of the safer states right now.
Yes.
The impact that this past week has had on people already. I mean, I can tell you I've had multiple conversations with not just other marginalized communities, but within the queer community, and about how scared we are and how the stress is just already setting in, the fear, planning, trying to figure out what we need to do and what's going to happen. And of course, all of that comes with mental health issues, right? It's all causing so much stress and tension. And personally speaking, I didn't learn about body work until the last couple of years. I've been so disconnected from the rest of my body that when my therapist still asks, where do you feel that in your body? I'm like, I have no idea. And I really try. And there's a couple times where I can be in tune with it, which is really important. But otherwise, I'm in my head. I just can't pinpoint it. I can't. It's so important. But I wasn't aware of it until I was 36 years old, like what this thing is in terms of being in tune with your body and really focusing in on that for mental health purposes.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a lot to say on this. Most people walk around like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's normal. I mean, you're learning it now, right? And there's a lot of therapies like somatic therapy that helps you, Hakomi therapy that helps you. And it helps you really, IFS, internal family systems, that really helps you get into your body, talk to those different parts of yourself.
I love parts.
Parts
Yes.
work. God, it's the best.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a shout out to the podcast, You Can Do Hard Things, because, for queer people, thank you.
Yes.
Glennon Doyle, Abby, and her sister, who I'm completely spacing on her name. But they actually did a great show after the election. It was like, going over what we can do. But a couple of things that I'm going to say about the election, about the queer community, is that, guess what, guys? We got to use our voices. This is our time to stand up, right?
Yep.
We are in America. The ACLU is all over this. We cannot give up. Sometimes, things like this have to happen. It's got to go towards this way for everyone's eyes to just completely open and to see that, wait, we are going a wrong way. And sometimes this happens because there's people we aren't listening to. Like when you look at the demographics, there was a lot of poor people who felt like she wasn't talking to them and really felt like his lies were talking to them. And it is interesting. I do think we have a kink in the United States, and we have abusive white daddy kink, who we love for him to lie to us. And it's a real kink in this country. Also, I heard another podcast, and they were saying that the United States, it's like we're in middle school, and I really liked that, because it is true. It's like we're in middle school and we're just sort of growing up. She didn't reach those communities that felt like she was just going to steal all the money out of their pocketbook. and he and his gold toilet somehow reached those people.
Yep.
Right. And that's interesting on a lot of different levels, and it also is, I was really angry. I mean, I went through so many emotions. Like,
Yes. The
I was crying. I was like, Lord have mercy, what are we going to do? And then I'd have like a couple of friends, one of my gay boy bestie friends talked me off the ledge. And I was like, okay, I hear you. The thing is that I feel is that I'm like, okay, the stock market loves Donald Trump. It does. The next day, my stocks were crazy. And I was like, what the?
I
It,
know.
it and there's something about that I'm like, this seems really, really bad and really wrong. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Maybe as women, as dykes, as lesbians, we need to accumulate some wealth to
Yeah.
start to be heard. Because these guys are running around billionaires getting anything they want.
Yep.
I mean, anything.
Money and power. Yep.
Money and power.
Yep.
And we have to stop hating on it. There's a part of us that really is opposed to that, making money, being successful. And I actually haven't been opposed to that, because I do believe, that making money and taking care of yourself and taking care of your community and people around you is very important. I do think that this election is going to change a lot of values in a lot of and not for bad ways. Of course, as the LGBTQ plus IA community, we're going to always stand up for the underdog. Period. End of story. We are. That's
Yep.
just who we are.
Yep.
That's who I am. I'm an Enneagram 8 also, so I'm always going to be the one over here shouting. But I will say that we have to use our voices. We have to get out of the way of fear. We can, because fear just stops you from everything. And we have to know that the system can be changed, because these billionaires have changed the system. And we have to realize that we can change it to work better for all of us. But what it's going to take is talking to those other communities, figuring out a way of, he just plays on their fear, right? And so they are voting straight from the fear place. And now we have to figure out, okay, how do we get them out of that? Like, how do we, and we can't be in fear trying to get them out of fear, because then we're all in fear and it's not going to help. So
Everybody's in fear. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So we have to find that commonality. Like, how do we get them out of that place? And it's going to take, I don't know. I'm not totally sure. It's going to take a lot of voices to be heard, and there's going to have to, the come together is going to have to happen. It's going to have to happen. There's nothing else we have.
And it's already starting. I know in Colorado, communities are banding together and organizations are already starting. Because Colorado specifically, we're starting to already have an influx of queer individuals coming to Colorado. Like, it's already starting in this past week. Looking at the Facebook pages and stuff, and the LGBTQ Denver Facebook page, people are like, hey, moving from North Carolina, don't feel safe here anymore. And like various places, Florida, you name it, they're already starting to come here. But the voices, I've talked about this before, where I used to just like keep to myself. I never wore rainbows out in public. I still don't. I'm in a very conservative county, so and now I'm gearing away towards that even more out of safety. But I have started to find my voice within the community and recognize how important it is to use that voice and band together within the community, because we are stronger united.
Absolutely. And that means running for office, right? That means using your voice in many different ways. Like I said, I'm very active in my community. I don't know if I'll run for office. I can get a lot done outside of that. I can help other people do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it means a lot. It means that, the Republicans have been organized for a long time, and they've been organized around Jesus and abortion and all the things that go with that for a long time. And the Democrats have really, not had that one centralized abortion or Jesus, because
Yeah.
They seem to go hand in hand. They haven't had that to sort of rally around. And we all know Donald Trump, he don't give two shits about abortion or gay people. He really doesn't
Anybody.
care anyone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But, we love, for whatever reason, our country does love the narcissist and they love the liar. And we see it. I see it every day. I mean, I see these CEOs and when people make that much money, they're living they're living in a whole other reality. It is like beyond what you and I can understand. It really is. Like it's so we have to figure out how to sort of get all that money out of so we actually have a democracy because right now we're not
It's not looking good, and especially if they take the House as well.
well, here's the other thing I'll say is we have to stay out of the news. The problem is the news freaking loves Trump. They love, love, love Trump.
Yeah.
He makes them so much money. So that's what's gotten us here, right?
I've been saying that for years. Like we have kept him so relevant the entire time. Even after he was president, he was completely relevant anywhere and everywhere. And that has absolutely driven me nuts. And it has absolutely worked in his favor.
It's money. That's the issue, right? It is money. And it's no one could have done what he did.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
He is a terrible Enneagram 8. He will just lie his way to, right? And he just believes he can do it. The other problem with the Democratic Party is they've decided, oh no, we can't do that. No, you can. We can do anything. This guy, this terrible human being, please, I'm not taking up for him, but he has done the impossible. He truly has. He came back from trying to take down our government and somehow and then has 34 counts on him, comes back from that and somehow stays relevant. I mean, he has legitimately done the impossible. So we have to work from that point and just go, excuse my language, fuck it.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. Like it's, we do have to work from that point of, sort of not lack of integrity, but it's going to be a little bit, what we feel is integrity, it won't be lack of integrity to other people because he's like, it's so far in the garbage now.
What I will say is things that I have told people who have reached out to me is we've got 2 months. We've got 2 months to come up with the plan to help each other out, prepare for the worst, because I am a proactive person. I don't like being reactive. And you can call it being overdramatic if you want to, but yeah, I'd rather have plans in place for his day one, because on his day one, he's already stated a lot of what he's going to sign. We need to be prepared for that.
Mental health wise, we have to be prepared for it. I mean, the ACLU is going to be out there. We have to trust that we have enough attorneys in our country that are going to fight this all the way, right?
Yeah.
And there are going to be systems that will be able to stop him. A lot of the fear mongering came from both sides. I mean, he had his fear mongering, we had our fear mongering, and we both sides really believed it. And one side won because that is how it works, right? And he even won. Not only did he win the Electoral College, he won the whole 9.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Which is extremely sad. But, we need to take care of our mental health. I will not be anywhere watching that craziness on
No.
I don't know what happens. I have turned off the news. I've changed all my algorithms.
Oh, good.
On my social media, everything, because I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Like I choose to follow book talk on TikTok, dancing videos. I like Chapel Rowan. I think she's hilarious. She's not hilarious. I think she's great. She's so talented. Brandy Carlisle. Like I've chosen to follow all of this, and then spiritual TikTok. So there's ways you can change all of your algorithms. I don't do Facebook. I haven't done Facebook in years. I only do Facebook for business and cat groups. But really,
yes. Yeah.
So there's a way we can just completely stay out of it and donate to, Planned Parenthood, donate to ACLU, and then get involved in your community. I'm very, very, very involved in my community. Very, both
And that's one of the things that I love is the way to like truly make change. A lot of times it's not from the top down. It's from who you know and with your close community. A lot of times change happens from there up. And putting a lot of focus on that within your community, banding together or just getting together and making sure everybody's safe. You know, all of these things can take place right now within your own community, which I think is just so incredibly important. Again, like I have never had the fight that I have in me now until a couple years ago. Just helping, so even just helping support LGBTQ small businesses can be an empowering experience for our community. It may seem small, but it's huge for our community. And we're going to have to really start making those movements into understanding how we can help support each other because we're going to need it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our country is a big country. And this is what we saw coming out of this election, right? Our country is, because it's so large. I mean, you look at Europe, and that's a lot of different countries within Europe. It's not one United States of Europe, you know? So America is huge, and that's what brought on this election, because there's so many different values within America. And Trump, that fear again, like we can tell that our country, and I think it's the saddest part, is run by evangelical Christians, and I can't stand that. I mean, I am so, listen, any Christians out there, I get it, you're a Christian, that's great. Can your religion not come hate on my religion?
Yes.
And how do we look on other countries, mostly Muslim countries, who have extremist religion, you know, where they're keeping women down? How do we look on those countries and go, nope, you're wrong, when that's what we're doing in our country? Because my biggest thing, you know, of course, LGBT QIA plus is like one of my biggest issues. But women's reproductive rights is right there. Those are my
Right there.
those are my two causes. And when, you know, they've decided that this Jesus, and if you go back and look in the 80s, right before what was in Reagan came up, the Heritage, what I think it was Jerry Falwell. I always get all the crazy evangelical preachers, all their names, you know, they're all like one and the same in my head. But I think they came up with this framework of, I know abortion. Abortion's going to be a thing, because Reagan he was fine. Roe v. Wade that was it. That discussion was done. But they knew they could run off of this, and they knew they could get to people, and they knew between Jesus and abortion, they could get to you. So it just created this crazy extreme religious extremism in this country. And that is something that absolutely needs to be talked about, because we cannot go looking at other countries and going, when we are absolutely positively doing it in this country, and then going to other countries and doing it, which is what we've always done. Let us be free to do whatever religion we want to do. You know, like we are not a Christian nation, but they have decided we're a Christian nation. And they've decided that women, you know, and the problem is when you have religious extremists, it keeps women down. And that's the fight. That right there is the fight. Like that's, you know, I've got a daughter, you know, and I've got a niece who I adore, who thank God has a big old, both my, you know, my daughter and my niece have great voices. They're going to say what they want.
Good for them.
Yeah. And, you know, I just think as women, that's the real fight we need to fight, and get behind that and go, okay, no, we're done. Yeah. I mean, women are done. You know, these men, like who we're putting right now in the White House, that's the part that just kills me. It's like all these white, rich, entitled men.
Yeah. Yeah.
And women are voting for them. So that tells me there's more abused women in this nation than we know what to do with. Right. And they've got the white daddy abusive kink happening.
Yeah.
You know, they want to save a white savior.
Yeah. And I like making sense of how things have happened and the women who have voted for him and then marginalized community members voting for him. I cannot wrap my head around it. And I don't think it's going to happen, and that's okay. I don't understand it, and that's okay. We've been seeing not just like the Christian like abortion connection there. I've also seen it in our school systems within Colorado, our boards of education. There have been more conservative individuals hopping on our boards of education that are starting to change the script within our schools, and stuff that they have talked about happening is like prayer going back in schools, eliminating things like CRT that never actually existed, and removing any kind of gender discussion. Like, all of these things are in those plans that are very conservative Christian connected. So there's all these things that are happening, and
Yeah.
I just want to shake people. It makes me angry because, like you were talking earlier, it's like we're going through a grieving process here. I wanted to cry, and then I would get angry and I want to fight, and I think the fight part has definitely been more sticking with me than the crying is
Yeah.
definitely the fight part.
Yeah.
Because the very thought of rights being taken away and there not being a separation of church and state, which we still claim as a nation that exists, but we're seeing that that's not exactly accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you a little bit about my story. My
Yes, yes.
parents are evangelical Christians. I was raised in New Orleans. My family, I'm Italian and French, but my dad was raised by he's from northern Louisiana. He just happened to marry into a Catholic family. So I was raised mostly Catholic my whole life. And then my parents found Jesus, like, got crazy with the born again craziness. Mostly because he had a bad marriage. Honestly, my dad was an alcoholic. Uh, he's still alive, actually, but he's like teetering on moving on from this world. He was a really horrible, violent alcoholic, but he was a white man who made money, so it was forgiven, right? And so my mom became born again when I was, I don't know, 15, 16, and they just got crazy, but they had been turned by Reagan. So they were part of that going into Reagan. They were the JFK voters who, had voted Democrat all the way through. And then Jimmy Carter lost him, and then Reagan just grabbed him. And then they all just rode the wave to Jesus, because that's really what, and they actually, that's the framework of what the Republican Party did in the 80s. Like, oh, we got to go grab all these people. We're going to use Jesus and abortion to do this. My parents, the second I came out in the 90s, it was a tough road. I was 91. I was 20 years old. And it was just a nightmare. I mean, I had a little brother who was 6 years younger than, oh, no, not 6 years, hello, almost 15 years younger than me. He was six, I was going to say. Um, uh, and they were like, oh, you can't talk to him. Oh, you can't do this. Oh, you can't do that, because you are that person. My dad would call me a feminazi because he was all about Rush Limbaugh. So I had the OG MAGA, the OG MAGA. So I knew when this MAGA thing started, I was like, Lord have mercy, here we go. Because I knew what it was about, right? Because I was like, this how I was raised, and I moved out here, thank you God, in 91, and have just stayed here because I'm not going back to that kind of mess. And it put, when I got married, my wife and I got married. I'm going to be 54 this year. My wife and I got married, I think I was 50. And we went to England to get married for a couple of different reasons. Her mom had died in 2020, and my wife's whole family is in England. She's Canadian and English. And I wanted to go there and do something fun to be with her family, because it was the first time going back after her mom had died. And that was, very sad, because it was her mom's whole family who's there. Anyway, and then the second thing was, I didn't even want to deal with my parents. I was like, you are absolutely positively not invited. I invited no one from my family. And my cousins, it was sad, because my cousins who are, liberal and who don't care about people being gay and haven't bought into this insanity of Jesus and abortion and gay and blah, 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 uh, they lost out. My niece and nephew lost out, and that was sad. But I just didn't want to have any part of my family, those Jesus freaks, being anywhere near my wedding. Because I knew what my mother would do. Well, this isn't really a wedding. Because she did it after. She wanted to throw us a party and celebrate. And all she could say was our family. And then I realized, I was like, why do you just keep saying our family? We were married. And it just didn't hit me because I was like, okay, well, you're throwing a party, whatever. And I was kind of like, I'm not a big wedding person anyway. So I was kind of like, all right, small party, family, whatever. And then I realized, wait a minute, you don't even want to say marriage.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, it's against my religion. And I said, okay, well, it's against my religion to come to your party. So I didn't. I said, you're out. Right. And that is where I want these parents to understand that your queer child I don't know why you think we're going to stick around and hang out with you. Because my dad right now is dying. But I've done my part. I've done what I can do. This man was not a good man. I love him. Yes, he's my father, right? But neither one of my parents were ever there for me. Like monetarily, with the business, when I brought my brother into my business, my parents were like, let me help you out financially. And that was great because I think that's what they felt they could give. And I was like, great, but this doesn't change the fact that you've sort of been these other horrible people
Right.
my entire life. And, my mom and I have had very frank discussions about it. She's like, well, why aren't you here? And I said, I have given what I can give. And I want to tell any queer person out there that is the best you can do because you got to take care of you. You have to. I've been sober 9 years. I do therapy every single week. I do a lot of IFS, which is internal family systems therapy. Yeah. I am all about my mental health. Now, I'm not perfect. Don't get me wrong. I have days where I'm like in a fetal position, but right now what is happening is we feel like they have won, right? Like I know I do. My MAGA parents, I feel like they have won, and they are wrong. And I think that's what makes all this hurt so much is that God, universe, whatever, spirit, whatever you want to call it, what is happening? Like, how come these people who, by the way, are not nice people, how did they win? I just want to say they didn't. They didn't. Because what it's going to do inside of all of us, rise up. Like that's what it's going to do is have us rise up. And we're gonna, we're not gonna be a revolution with guns on insanity like their side loves to do. But that's the other thing. We got to stop saying the sides. We have to sort of talk to everyone, and we've got to change this direction that it's heading in. Like we are the bad guys, but they are saying some horrible stuff. I mean, how do you look at your kid and you go, yeah, I'm going to vote for this guy who just said all this crazy stuff, like horrible stuff. And you teach your kid not to say that stuff. Hey, don't be a bully. Mm-hmm. There's movies made about this. Or take these people voting for this guy or taking their kids to see that movie, but yet they're voting for a guy who just does this. I don't know, the rise up in us, we do have to come up with some sort of a plan and go, how do you explain to people that being nice and being the better person is the better way? The multi-billionaire, I don't even know where they are anymore, with the gold toilet should not be the person with like 8 different kids from 4 different, you know what I mean? Like 4 different baby mamas should not be the person we're looking up to. But we're like, that's the person. They've got all the money and all the power. So that must be the person. So we have work to do, and we will do it.
Yep. Again, I don't understand how people they know who he is. His business is out there, right? All the horrible things that he has done and said, it's out there. It's not made up. These are recordings of him saying offensive things to entire groups of individuals. His criminal record, it's there, it's out there, it cannot be avoided. Things that he has done business wise, his bankruptcies, various workers that he has absolutely screwed over or underpaid, or all of those things are out there. His failed university, where people paid to go to a realtor school, Trump University, and it completely failed, and none of these people even got certifications because it wasn't accredited. He has all of this is out there, and the things that he has said that is absolutely disgusting, and the assaults, and yet people, and I don't want to point out a whole group of people, but a lot of Christians that I know who are Republicans vote for this guy. He's the opposite of a Christian or doing good to any degree.
He is the Antichrist. I mean, he really truly is. I'm
Yeah,
like, but that is what they believe. Capitalism and Christianity go hand in hand. They
that's
believe
wild.
that the almighty dollar and Christianity go hand in hand. And that's all they care about. Their God, their mega church that makes millions, their mega pastor that makes millions, that's really a closeted gay man, or he is a serial cheater who lives. I mean, they love to be lied to. Lord have mercy. These people love to be lied to. They are not critical thinkers. But maybe that's the issue, right? They don't want
Critical
to critical think.
thinking.
They're like,
Yeah,
they're like big TV, big house, big cars, blah blah blah. It goes on and on. I mean, it's why I live in San Francisco. I don't want big. You know what I mean? Like I want to drive my Toyota RAV4. Very very happy with it. My wife's Ford Escape. Love that car. And we live in our 3-bedroom 1-bath house that we purchased, with a backyard for my dog and a nice space we can go back there. I'm happy with that. I'm super happy. I've never wanted a mega house. I've never wanted, I want to just be able to take nice vacations and enjoy my life,
yeah.
and help people. And that helps me. But somewhere in there, people have lost that. And they've lost their sense of self. They've lost, they haven't had the adversity until your kid is a trans kid or a queer kid, or a kid who's another race, like anything like that, until they see adversity and what people actually do to you with adversity when you're different,
Mm-hmm.
then they make changes. But until then, they really,
They
they're
live in
like,
their
oh no,
bubble.
I'm white, you're white, we good, we're all good.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it's
And
wild.
it's, they don't sort of think outside of there. And Jesus was not white. I mean, this white Jesus plastered everywhere makes me crazy. I'm like, please. Like we do Christmas at our house. My kid is Jewish. I'm nothing. But I tell my kid all the time, I said, well, there's no Christ in this Christmas. This is a pagan Christmas. This is my pagan tree. I really like my pagan tree. I'm very happy with it. I just don't want my cat to destroy it.
Right.
And my cat's like,
Yeah, every year.
every day, any day, plotting, how can I get that tree?
Yeah,
Um, uh, but and we do Hanukkah, we do all the
it's
things.
fantastic.
And yeah, my wife, we're not religious at
Mm-hmm.
all.
Mm-hmm.
We bring in all the stuff and we allow, all the things. You want to believe in God, not believe in God, whatever you want to do, you do, boo.
Yeah,
You know, that's
yeah.
that's who we are.
There's a church in Colorado Springs called All Souls, and they celebrate all the holidays. There's a ton of atheists that go to it because it's more about the community and learning from each other and just getting together and learning about different religions as well. And I think that's fantastic. Nobody is forcing you to believe in one certain thing because that is the almighty. It's here are all of these different religions that exist that many people over all countries may celebrate, and there's thousands of religions. There isn't one. I want to remind people there isn't just one religion.
But it
There's a
becomes
lot.
it's simple if there is one, right? Like I told my parents that so many times. I was like, "Oh, I get it. You actually want a dictator." Because then someone can just tell you what to do at all
Yeah,
times.
it's black and white,
And
right?
yeah. And people love it. Like, and the problem, we live, it's gray. I mean, even I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I'm going to be nerdy
Okay.
for a second.
Do
I'm
it.
not only Star Wars, I'm science fiction, I'm all the things. I love that they made her a gray Jedi. Rey is the gray Jedi, the Sith and the Jedi coming together. Because when the Jedi were just around, it was like they got crazy,
Hmm.
and then the Sith are crazy. I mean, that's where we're living right now, right? You got both sides get crazy.
Yeah.
But that works for corporations. And
Yes, it
we do
does.
have to remember that it is all about making money. So if you sort of pull back, look at the bigger picture of everything, you're like, I'm not even sure it has anything to do with all those. We just get caught in the middle. They just play us all off of each other.
Well,
And yeah,
I will tell you, like, most Facebook posts before the election happened, people are like, I'm going to vote for Trump because it puts more money in my pocket. And by the end of it, I wanted to rip my hair out. Every time I saw that, I just
yeah,
wanted to absolutely rip my hair out because that's
yeah.
literally all they think and cared about, is that in their opinion, Trump was going to put more money in their pocket. And that's it. Everything else, I don't know if they were sticking their head in the sand or just
Well,
like, that was it.
when they go to buy a computer or a cell phone or anything after January, good luck to you.
Yes.
I'm buying everything before January because he's doing all the tariffs, which is like crazy to me because I'm like, okay, I get the tariff thing, I understand, but you're not bringing it back to the United States because you also hate unions. So now I'm confused.
Yes.
If you have a plan of like, here's what I'm going to do over here so that we can bring back manufacturing to the US, because that is supposed to be the reason. But I don't really quite understand because it doesn't feel like the other side of
We're
it is
missing
happening.
a piece there. We're missing multiple pieces there to that
Yeah,
puzzle.
yeah.
And there's
He
so
don't even
many,
know. He's so crazy. He don't even know what he's talking about. He just says all kind of crazy shit.
yeah. And economics or economists,
Economists.
yes, thank you, have come out and shared their expertise.
Yes.
And
But we don't.
it's not gonna look good. It's not gonna be what people expected. But the damage is done. They voted for him. They voted for him.
Absolutely. And I will say, the spa, like Silicon Valley celebrating. So anytime there's going to be a lot put into I actually just bought some stock in NVIDIA yesterday because they went through this morning because I was like, okay, that's going to be the chip that they use. I'm putting that out to the queer community because I'm saying, listen, guys, we got to put money in our pocket
Yeah.
because money does talk.
Yeah.
And so, I was like, all right, well, I know Silicon Valley. We have all around the spa in the Mission Creek area of the Mission District. It's where all the AI companies start for everything.
And
So
that's big right now.
it's
For
big,
sure. It's
and
gonna get
I
bigger.
feel I feel grateful. Not that I think with the Harris win we would have done great. Also, I think
Yes.
either way, I'm bummed because I'm like, why couldn't we just stay on the train we're on? We're doing really well. Now we got to go on this other train, which, yes, I will do well, but I'm going to do well in the face of a lot of people losing their rights. And that sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It's the
I'd rather,
sacrifice that was made. It was the absolute sacrifice that was made that
yeah,
people wanted.
yeah,
This is what they wanted. I would definitely prefer it have gone the other way.
yeah,
I'd gladly give all of my money to have my rights and my friends keep rights and just every individual. If we could just treat each other as human beings, but we don't. Our country does not. And it's very possible that we're going to become second-class citizens and be treated as such.
we can't let ourselves do that.
No.
That's because they won't let themselves do that, become that. So
Yep.
we're not going to become that.
Yeah.
We do have to rise up and fight the fight,
Yes, we
and
will.
give to the organizations,
Yep.
but also take care of ourselves. Don't fight him at every turn, even though we can't stand him. I mean, I'm going to be real. I haven't liked Donald Trump since the freaking 80s. I mean, I am 54 years old. I really was praying that this was it. I was like, please let him out of my life. Mama is done. But it
Gosh.
didn't happen like that.
Yeah.
So he's still stuck in my life. That man has been in my life since the freaking 80s. Like I
My
am done.
gosh. Yeah.
So, but we will not allow ourselves to be
Yeah.
that. We will not. And that is why, again, take it back to money because that's all the all important US, that's all they think about. When you look at the demographics of San Francisco, people who voted, it was the poorest areas, the poorest. So I think a couple of things happened. There was that bro mentality, like, oh no, he's broy. And I also think you're right. They all thought he put money in their pockets. He was really good at getting that message out. Really, really good. And you and I both know we're not going to vote with our pocketbooks. We're going
Nope.
to vote on social issues because that's what we believe in. I want the women's right, women's reproductive rights, LGBTQIA plus
Yep.
rights.
Yep.
That's where I'm going to vote down, right? I'm going to go straight down that list and I want minimum wage raise. And even though look, I paid the most minimum wage. My employees get 1867 per hour, plus I give them really good commission. And then plus they get tips on top of that. And I have, my prices are for their San Francisco prices, right? And so, they walk away with a good living because they deserve it. And I think people just do deserve a minimum wage. But there's things in there that the Democratic Party has not been good at the messaging. And part of it is that instead of head counting all these businesses, if you have more than 5 or more than 10, you got to do X, Y, and Z. You should do a net, okay, or really a gross. If you gross $1 million a year, or you net $1 million, sorry, it was net. If you net $1 million a year, you should do X, Y, and Z. Like you need to pay your employees $22, all these things. And that right there saves the mom and pops. That right there saves all these. But the Democratic Party has not been good about that messaging.
Yeah.
So what they've done is they've lost the middle class person.
Yeah.
Because all they think about the middle class person, not you and I, because we're queer, we're going to vote one way. But all these other people who voted, which is why we lost the election, they're just thinking, oh, these people want to take money out of my pocket. And they don't give a crap about you and I. And that's
About
what
anything else. Yeah.
Yeah. And last week, that's what made me the most angry. And I mean, I have less than, let's see, maybe 12 people in my family who voted on the right side of history, because all the other ones, and I make more money than all the other ones.
Yeah.
The ones who voted that, they make money. They're voting, kind of against their pocket, but I think we would have done fine under her.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of them have no money, but they're like, Daddy Trump is going to make me rich. I mean, that's crazy, but that's a messaging issue. That's a messaging issue.
Yeah.
So the Democrats we have soul searching to do because we have a messaging issue, and we've got to get together and get a good message out there. And so that people vote for us, so we can get rid of, we need that middle person. We need that moderate candidate, because Donald Trump's running all the way over to the right, and I felt like she was a moderate candidate. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Moderate candidate.
Yeah.
And that still didn't win. I think maybe bringing all the Hollywood people out and doing all of that, maybe that didn't work. I don't know. I thought we had it in the bag.
Yeah, I think a lot of us absolutely did, and I think I'm still experiencing the shock of all of it. Before we wrap this up, I do want to get into more of that mental health aspect to it.
Yes.
So if you can just leave all of our listeners today, and I think we went down a road of politics today, and I think that's just because that's real right now.
We're queer.
Yes.
We're queer.
Yes.
We have the most to lose.
Yes.
And all I want to do is send away our queer community saying, listen, we are going to rise up. We are going to be fine. We're not second-class citizens. We are start running for office, doing all these things. We can do this. And that is why we went down this road, because we are queer and we are women.
And I'm not upset about it whatsoever. I'm not upset about it whatsoever, because if there is a message today, it is that we will rise. We can band together. We can work together. We can figure this out. I am still hopeful. I still want to believe in human beings. I still want to believe that we can come out of this okay, even though it may just appear so terrifying. I do believe we have a very strong community and just rising. I love that. If that's anything you're taking from today, that's there you go. We can rise together. But also, please, I always ask this of guests, if there is a nugget of advice
Yes.
that you can share with the queer community,
Yeah, I got you.
please take it away.
Yeah, the thing I will say is you got to start here. No matter what it is you're doing, you got to start right here with you. And you got to start with taking care of your stuff. I've been sober for 9 years. That is very important to me. I have a sober reset on Instagram. I'm a sober influencer. It's a 5-week program. Get sober. Getting sober puts all the power back to you, all of it. Taking care of you. I get up every single morning. Every single morning I exercise. Every single morning. It can be 10 minutes, it can be 15, it can be 30. Depends on where I'm at, right? But I get up and I do my 20 burpees, I do my jump, I do like my whole little routine, then I do some yoga. And all in all, it can take me up to 15 minutes. So you can do that. Watching what you put in your body, watching what you eat, because it all starts right here. Get therapy, get a good therapist. Psychology Today, that's how you find
Yes.
a therapist.
Psychologytoday.com.
If you're saying, "Oh, I don't have the money." Oh no. You can get it. You can figure it out. Because here's what I'm going to say. Every single psychologist will work with you. Every single one. They will work with you. They're sliding scale. I do sliding scale because I was down for 2 years because of COVID. So everybody will work with you. Yeah, and just again, it's about taking care of your own stuff. Like get body work, exercise, take care of that mental health. Do some do some meditation, do some walking meditation if you don't like to sit. I'm not a sitter. It starts right here. It starts with yourself, and turn off the news. Turn it off.
Turn it off.
Stop. Unplug.
Don't even turn it on.
Yeah, don't even turn it on. If your Facebook feed is full of people saying crazy ass stuff, then dump them. My Facebook page is not a democracy. It's not. Bye bye. Bye, girl, bye. You should see who I follow. I follow anybody. I follow groups about business and cats.
Yes.
The end. Not even really my poor dog. I follow more dog stuff on Instagram.
See, and these are all healthy boundaries. These are healthy boundaries for yourself that
Absolutely.
should be in place, because at the end of the day, you cannot help others until you help yourself. And
Amen.
yeah,
Yes.
I've had to learn the hard way. I didn't know any of these things until I was 36, but I'm finally doing it. Taking care of myself, performing self-care, knowing and recognizing your feelings can be so pivotal when you have that self-awareness of, this is affecting my mental health, or this is making me feel enraged, angry, sad. Recognizing all of those feelings and learning how to step away or handle it in a healthy manner. These are all things that you can do for yourself and your mental health, because we all need that right now. We all need to take care of our mental health. Otherwise, we're all going to spin out of control, and there's no power in that. There's no rising up if we're spinning out of control.
Right. You have to really listen, that voice that goes in your head. And that voice can get loud. Parts work, they talk about that voice gets loud. You got to talk to that voice. Like, it's okay. You're going to be fine. How old are you? Like, let's talk this through. And that's part of your mental health routine, because you got to get out of fear. On the other side of fear is freedom. If I can leave anybody with anything, on the other side of fear is freedom. And we are, at the end of the day, we do live in the United States of America. We are free, thank God. And we'll rise up. Everything will get better, because it always does.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing parts of your story, what you're doing, and just just sharing everything. I do appreciate that. And then can you please tell everybody where they can follow you or reach out?
Yeah. And thank you for having me. This
Yeah,
has
of
been,
course.
and I can't tell you, I love this. I'll come on anytime. This
Okay.
has been really, really great. So thank you so much for having me. If you're in San Francisco, you can find me at In Symmetry Spa. I own it. So come on by. We have the best body workers in the city. If you have TMJ, I can help you. If you want to do a 5-week sober reset, just to reset yourself, that's all it is. It's taking a break. You can go sober, however you want to do it. You can find it at Sober Reset on Instagram. And then you can also find at In Symmetry Spa on Instagram. And yeah, I think that's it. I have
Okay.
my dog and cats. I have another one of those too.
Those pages as well. I love it.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah. No, that's
I have
fair.
all
Those are the best.
my dog catching the ball at the beach.
Oh my gosh.
My dog's obsessed with the ball. It's really cute. It makes me so happy.
That's all that matters.
Healthy
I love
obsession.
it. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and leave comments for Candace and myself about this episode. You can also follow Queer in Here on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Queer in Here Podcast. Thank you again for tuning in today. You are loved. You are enough. And please lean on each other and ask help when you need it.
Absolutely.
See you next time.